This is the Stay Healthy Experience, and today I am very excited, delighted to be able to sit down with Claudia Stepan. I said the last name correctly.
Yes, you did.
And of course, we have BK, Barbara Chris.
Hey.
Some people think BK is for Burger King.
Yeah. I mean, I like it.
And we're going to talk about wellness today because each one of us is in that space of wellness. And what's fascinating about you is that I always, when I talk about wellness or people who want to become like a wellness expert in my space, I say you want to have the heart of a teacher. So you're a teacher, you're into wellness, so you're that.
Yeah.
Yay.
And you're a mom and you're a wife and you're like, I mean, so just share with everyone who you are, like what is your days like? I mean,
Well, that's the thing. I think my days are very busy. Like I think a lot of people out there these days, you know, especially parents, are juggling a lot. So we juggle a lot. My husband and I, we have 3 kids. I am a principal now. I was teaching for 13 years before I went into admin. Went back and got my master's degree, and on top of teaching while my husband was running a business and we were raising 3 kids. So like our days were, you know, wake up early, go to bed late, and there's no stopping like in between. So we have always been active, healthy people, but obviously as we get older, things get a little harder. And I have always had a passion for education and health and wellness, but I didn't have a means to kind of really share anything in terms of like a professional route with health and wellness. So my own journey with finding some solutions around gut health and nutrition led me to just simply want to help other people and leverage social media to kind of just share my experience and start to kind of just promote and inspire people to really, first of all, like kind of just stop and slow down and recognize how important it is that we take care of ourselves every day. And I think as parents, we tend to always want to do for others first. And then as parents, we can start to like, you know, put ourselves last.
Right.
It's
For
career,
sure.
it's kids, and then if
Us
there's something
last.
left over in time, then it's us last. And I think I hit a point in my life where I was like, I have to prioritize myself first. And my husband and I like wanted to support each other in that and make sure that each of us has time every day, something for ourselves, so that we weren't burning ourselves out while trying to do for our kids, you know, and kind of reversing that kind of mentality around we have to put ourselves first and not feel guilty about it because it'll be better to be able to give more in the long run.
So are you someone who believes, and I think we were just talking about this,
Yeah.
or I was talking to someone about it,
Yeah.
and that is that when you're married before the kids, you have this conversation that, hey, it's you and me. Now the kids are going to come, but it's you and me.
Yeah.
And at least most people I know who got married, then it was all about the kids, and it was never about them. So they lost them, and then they lost themselves because everything is with the kids.
Yeah.
And you've been successful with it, right? I haven't been.
Me neither.
It's hard. It's extremely hard, and you have no idea. You know, again, it's like you don't know going into it. I didn't know before having kids just how much of a challenge it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best thing, right? Like it's the best feeling that I remember first feeling that love come over, like of like staring at your baby and going like, oh my gosh, this is the love my parents feel for me. You know, and experiencing that. But also like just realizing, I mean, sleep deprivation is hard.
I know.
Right? And like the first few years, you know, it takes a toll. It takes a toll. And that's where, you know, it's so important to continue to really take care of yourself and to, you know, and if you can do that as a couple, as a family, you know, it benefits the whole family.
Right.
But I mean, that is the natural, I think, thing that happens without consciously being aware of it. Like it wasn't until like 7 years in that I was like, whoa, like I can't keep up this pace. Like whoa, like what happened?
So you figured it out, like, so you guys didn't go in with the plan in the very beginning.
No, I mean we met snowboarding on the mountain. My husband surfed. We were active, you know, before kids, right? It wasn't a challenge to be healthy, really.
Right.
You know, because you have your job and then you have all the rest of the time is for you.
Right.
And so then, you know, we didn't intentionally do anything other than we were excited and ready to have children, and we just naturally wanted to pour everything into them, and you just do it, and you're not even aware that you're kind of starting to let things go, because we didn't feel an impact of it until it kind of built up too. But it and then it just was like, whoa, we really need to, and we still did. We didn't let everything go. We still kept many things in place. But again, just the compound effect of stress. I think that's the big factor that comes in, is the stress. Trying to juggle so many things.
And then imagine if you financially are strapped.
Right.
Yeah.
So you bring in the financial challenge with the kids and the losing yourself.
It's just all this pressure on your shoulders. Because you were saying about 7 years after you first started having kids is when you really felt the...
Right. The why am I tired all the time?
Yeah.
Why do I wake up and think? My first thought in the morning was and I would fall asleep with my kids. I would read to them at night, and then
fall asleep with them.
I couldn't stay awake.
Oh my goodness! So we were in the same club.
Yeah. And then my husband would come find me in one of their beds and be like, come to sleep. And so then I'd go to sleep. So I was sleeping long periods of time, but probably not deep.
Not quality.
Because I wake up, very easily. Because again, that mom, you're every little sound is
right.
What's that? And I would wake up in the morning, and my first thought was just 5 more minutes, hit the snooze button. I'm still tired, right? And but then I'd get up and I'd make it through the day at work. But then driving home from work is when that next
You'd
wave of
it.
yawns would come. And so again, I really didn't know what else I could really do differently, because we did keep our nutrition right the whole time, and we were still physically active with our kids, because we'd go hike with them and bike with them and things like that. But I just was kind of join the Tired Moms Club.
You should write a book. Yeah. Seriously.
Well, I just wrote a book. I was part of a book just recently, and so I had my first taste of being an author with other authors as well. So it was more like a chapter.
Right.
But I did get some good feedback from the editor, and said, you have a really good grasp of being able to storytell. And I was like, maybe I'll write a book. But
yeah, I say write a book.
Awesome.
Because I'll never forget, before, when I got married and before the kids, we knew the kids were coming.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my ex-wife was reading everything. And she wanted to go take these classes, and she wanted to watch these videos. And I got to a place where I was like, hey, I'm supportive. I'll do all of that, right?
Yeah.
However, I don't think there's anything that can prepare us for what's about to happen. And I learned that when I went into the Marine Corps, because in the Marine Corps, you go to boot camp, but there's nothing that's going to prepare you for Vietnam. I mean, you do get some skills and you have some knowledge,
right?
But it's one of those things that when it happens, you just gotta just flow with it.
Exactly. There's nothing like experiencing it firsthand.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to have read a book by someone like yourself that not only talks about what to do with the kids, but how to keep it together so that you're more in love 15, 20 years later, and not divorced like me.
Right. Or even as a mom, as for me, because I have one child. He's 16 though now. But I remember it being a challenge just to be able to leave him, down in his that little bouncy chair, and actually make a meal, because I was so just conflicted with, I need to be with him, and I was scared if he would cry. I mean, everything was such a big deal. I remember thinking, God, it'd be nice if he came with an owner's manual.
Yeah. There's lots of right. That's the other thing, though. There's a lot of stuff out there, and sometimes too, right? That can cause stress, because I know when my kids weren't sleeping through the night, right? You start to go okay, what method do I need to try? And then you read this book and you read that book and you just try, and I tried everything, and then it'd just be
and everybody has an opinion.
And I just wave the white flag. It's just I need the path of least resistance, because I have to get up and go to work in the morning.
Yep.
So it's I don't, so I gave up.
And you surrender. You went with the flow.
Then, finally, eventually, they slept through the night. Although some of my son will still wake up sometimes and come back and stand at the edge of our bed and be like, I can't sleep. Look, you can just crawl in. Just crawl in. Just don't even wake us up. Just crawl in.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have a king-size bed, But information overload can be sometimes stressful, I think, on parents, too. And
for sure.
And when it comes to health and wellness and nutrition and all that stuff, too, there's 50,000 different, do this, do that, do this.
Oh, my
do that,
gosh.
do this. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy out there.
Yeah.
And which leads me to one of the things I want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Is something that can help everybody, right? So as we are still in the midst of COVID and people's lives have been turned upside down, there is an opportunity for people to become healthier during this time. I've been saying this since this all started.
Yeah.
And in the midst of all of this, we did a clinical trial in Pennsylvania, your home state.
Yeah.
And I went back and forth for 14 weeks. Every week.
It was
I was on the
14
plane.
weeks.
Yeah.
Dang.
Every week. I got on the plane, went there, did the program with a group of people, under-resourced. Most of them were Medicaid, some were Medicare. And it was a clinical, right? So we did all their blood work up front. And during all of this craziness, the outcome is we saw hemoglobin A1Cs, people who are type 2 diabetic, drop 2%, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We saw triglycerides, cholesterol, blood pressure, all improved, dramatically, as a result of these people becoming educated and learning how to be healthier.
Right.
During all of the COVID.
Yes.
So we're in class, people got masks on, they're separated. So if they can do it, then everybody can do it.
Absolutely.
So I would love for us to each share some tips, things that have worked for each one of us during the COVID, because, I mean, I see Barbara pretty much at least once a week, but she hasn't gained 20 pounds during the COVID. Right?
No, I'm good.
No quarantine 15 for you.
No, going down.
Hashtag winning.
That's right.
So, I mean, so maybe you can start. Like, what did you personally do, Barbara, during COVID? And what are you still doing that's helping you not decline with your health, but you're running forward with your health?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good question.
Thank you. I've put a lot of thought into that.
I know. So we could just end right here. Actually, one of the first things that I noticed, which ties back to exactly what you said, even just as parents, is having to deal with stress and pressure and crazy schedule. For me, the first thing that I did is as best possible, is I maintained my regular routine. And that was going to bed at a certain time, waking at a certain time. And if that meant I was waking because I was doing some kind of exercise in the morning, I was making myself do that. And it came down to a lot of times where it was stressful, especially at the very beginning when you'd go to a store and, there's no toilet paper and you're thinking, God, am I going to have no toilet paper or food or whatever? It was really important that I had that discipline to keep following through with the things that I knew worked for me and kept my brain and my mind sane, as sane as possible. That was the first thing that I did, is I hit that part. And I just continued to do that throughout the entire time. I mean, I could keep going on more, but that was probably the first thing that I did.
And of all of that, if someone's listening and they're not in the best shape, but they're going, okay, I'm watching this show, I'm listening in, what kind of tips can you give them that has worked for you, or maybe even for some of your clients? Right.
So one of the things, that's another good question. Jeez,
I'm on a roll today.
He's on a roll. I mean, so
which means that I guess I'm horrible at asking questions normally.
No, but it is good, because I do get that question from especially my clients that are maybe new to working out, or they're getting back into it. And I always share with them is to create a new schedule, and that might be if they can. A lot of times they do want to exercise, and they're just kind of struggling with where to fit it in. Their schedule's crazy. They're schooling at home, and I like to tell them, if you get up 20, 30 minutes early, just carve out that time. Even if it's walking for 20 minutes, if it's more than what you were doing before, that's already a win.
Right.
And then before you know it, it becomes a routine for them. And I like to tell them too, if you can get it done in the morning, then you're more likely to just get it done in general. If you put it off to the afternoon, like you said,
things can go high wire.
Oh yeah, and then before you know it, it's like I want to go to bed and forget it. So that would is to do it in the morning.
Well, so now we're going to shift to you, because for me, how you answer this says a whole bunch. And when I say that, it's a compliment, because being a professional, having you basically have two professions, and you're a mom. As we all know, you got 3 kids, some teenagers, right? They're at home. I mean, that's a lot. So if you can have your shoulders pulled back and your head, you're lifted up, and you're walking around still what was your secret?
Yeah.
Well, like I mentioned, I think it's about really knowing, getting the mindset that's like, it's I have to do this for myself. You know, prioritizing yourself, and really knowing that, you know, you're not going to feel guilty about it. It's a must, right? And it's a non-negotiable. And even if it is, I love what you said about just 20 minutes, because I think, you know, it's so important when you are a person that's listening that doesn't already have this routine or this, they don't have their system in. A lot of times people don't know where to start, or they try to change too much at once, and then they can't stick to anything, and then they feel like it's like an all or nothing thing, and then you either are on the wagon or off the wagon.
Right.
And I really think that starting with just one thing, pick one thing to start, whether that's a new morning routine. I think morning routines are powerful, because how you start the day dictates the tone for the day, you know.
Right.
So I think if you're going to pick a time to add in something, you know, morning, I totally agree with that. But picking one thing, you know, even if it's just for this month, I'm going to eliminate all beverages except for water, and I'm just going to do water only for 30 days. That's something anybody can do. It probably save you some money, you know, especially if you have a filter at home, or, you know, there's low cost, no cost, and simple habits you can start with, build it, and then add a different habit, you know, just keep adding one habit at a time. So for me, during all of this time, I did have routines in place. So I came into a situation very strong, and that's why it's so important, right? Because you want to be in your best health, physically, mentally, emotionally. And you want to do everything you can to protect those things on a regular basis, because life will throw crap at you.
It's not if, it's when.
It's not if, it's when. And the more you invest in that, just prioritizing that, no matter what it is, you know, and taking that seriously. And a lot of times it's not about spending more money. It's about actually spending less money on things that aren't good for you, you know, taking out things. When that situation does happen, where we're in a global pandemic, you know, you're set up to roll with it. And you now have the tools in place. You know what works for you. But through this whole situation, I've seen a lot of people been able to reach out to me, and I'm sure reaching out to you, because it is making them have that moment of going, you know what, I need to take better care of myself.
Right.
Because we know that with all of this and our immune system, it is about our health. You know, it's you know, the best defense is a strong offense, right? Like, you want to have that, your body has a strong immunity, you know, so that when all that life is starting to throw at you, you know, you are at your best to be able to get through things. So I think a lot of people during this time, thankfully, it's a great opportunity, you know, it's for people to go, you know what, it does matter that, you know, nothing's more important than my health. Especially people that have seen people in their lives that have gotten sick, right? Like, what is more important than that?
Well, it's one of those things where, like, when you say it, and I get it, right? Because there's some really smart people here.
Yes.
I'm talking about you guys, not me. But it's one of those things where I'm reminded, and when you had the opportunity to see that study group, when you're dealing with people who don't have the education, right? And there are many underlining, like, mental health challenges that people experience, right? And they don't know how to tap into what you said, is to create boundaries. And you said, no one's blocking what I'm going to do every day. And the only other person the first person I saw that way, the way you just described it, was my mom. My mom, when she decided that she was going to, like, get healthier, and she ended up losing 125 pounds, and she always had a big purse. So wherever we would go, she would have, whether it was rice cakes or whatever she was eating.
Oh, funny.
She would have it in that purse. And we would go, oh, Mom, you got to try this. And my mom has attitude. Like, you ever watch a Medea movie, then you'll see my mom. Like, she is Medea.
She'd, like, hit you with the purse.
She'd be like, boy, I'm going to do what I do and you do what you do. You know, that's my mom. Like, she's more of like, you're not going to mess up my mornings. I said, Mom, come on, I want to take you somewhere. No. What did I tell you yesterday?
Right.
I wake up in the first hour, I walk on the treadmill. I do my thing. So I love that. And to me, that's a big tip for people.
Heck yeah.
Is to be unapologetic about it.
And what you just said about how difficult, I mean, there is a lack of knowledge. There is confusion about things. There is a lot of mental health component to it. It's an emotional thing to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-sabotaging happening
A lot
out there in the world.
Yeah.
And so reaching out to get help. I mean, anybody that's listening that feels like they need, like, I need to, but I don't know where to go, reach out, right? Like listening to the podcast, reach out to you,
Exactly.
right? Look around the people that are around you. And it doesn't, again, just find someone who can help. Get a partner, like, do it with someone. Like, don't try to like just suffer alone.
Exactly.
And reach out because
I feel like there's something going on. There's a vibration going on. I feel like
you picked it up. No, I was just about to say. So, what does America's Fat Loss Coach do, or what did you do? What did you do during this whole thing to stay on track?
I gained about 15 pounds. Yeah, I mean, it was really tough.
Yeah.
Because our business, a large part of it was framed around events. Literally, we were in Vegas in February at this big conference, and we did almost $4 million in deals on the floor.
I remember that.
And this was all built around events. And we're toast champagne. Life is like we're blowing it up.
I think I remember that post.
I was me and Ziggy. Yeah. Ziggy.
Like,
so we
Ziggy.
we killed it. The world was ours. And then boom.
Right, February, that's like, like lingering.
No, it was, like over. And everything was done. I mean, I was getting ready to shoot a new infomercial. I mean, there was so much that we were ready to do, and then it was all gone. And it was tough. So I struggled through a lot of that. And at one point, I felt like I touched depression.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely had moments where I did not want to get out of bed. I would have never expected that of me.
Yeah.
I was done. And so I think I had on and off for probably about 3 weeks. If I didn't have my daughters, then I was just, I was numb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. And and that's what I was just saying about the mental health component. Like, you let it go then, right? Like, I mean, if you don't want to get out of bed, like, all of that's connected, right?
Right.
Your physical health, your mental health, it's all connected, and it can be challenging, and it's real situations that are happening all the time. I don't think there's a person out there that hasn't either experienced a challenge and a dip in their life or knows someone that has gone through a dip, and it's challenging.
And it's still there because look, like every year, I literally walk in shoes of compassion and empathy, and that's why I believe I've done well in the space that I do work in. And during the holidays is when I feel it the most, because when I see people, like if I bought a brand new car, I wouldn't post it on Facebook in December. I
hear you. Yeah.
That's just not me. And yes, I worked hard, and yes, I feel like I deserved it.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show the Christmas tree with a big focus on how many gifts are under it, because I know people are watching, and people are struggling all the time.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm always thinking about that. And there's an argument on the other side of it, but for me, it's like I want to remind people, think about other people. Yes, share on social media and all that, but let's lift people, because not everyone can buy their kids gifts this year.
Right.
It's horrible. But to shift and not get myself into a depression, you said something earlier, and we talk about this a lot, and that is a lot of the confusion around how to become healthier, like what's right and what's not. And so this morning, I wanted to share something with you guys.
Oh.
So I even wrote it all out, because I didn't want to miss anything.
Okay.
And I posted this question on Facebook because I wanted to see what people thought. And that was, when you go with a alternative to cow's milk, like a plant-based
I saw your question
on
Facebook.
And if you read through it, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because the number one seller in North America is almond milk. It beats everybody. Second to that is oat milk. And third, which is constantly declining, is soy milk. Now, I've been drinking soy milk since 1989. My kids grew up on soy milk. So if it wasn't breast milk, it was soy milk. And I'm very clear on soy. I get it. And it's so sad because I watch everyone, they're getting information that's not real. Like they'll say that soy milk has this estrogen component.
Yes.
But what a lot of those people don't realize is that, yes, it does, but it also has an anti-estrogen component to it, depending on where it is in the body. And 3 years ago, they did a major study. Over 6,000 women they had followed for 9 years. The women who consumed soy on a regular basis, like high amounts of it, had a significantly reduced likelihood of getting breast cancer, first or recurrence.
Wow.
And then when you look at the data around the world, you'll notice that people who drink and consume soy, breast cancer is almost not even there. You go to Japan, you go to China, they're eating soy every day, and no one's getting breast cancer.
Wow.
And then, you'll have the guy saying, well, it's going to cause my estrogen levels to go up really,
Right.
really high, and
Yes,
I'm going to
I've heard
have
that.
man boobs.
I heard that.
The soybean's like, no, Dad, I love it.
And again, I don't have man boobs. And that's not what's going to cause it. And so there's a lot of data out there that the estrogen, the isoflavones that are connected to estrogen as far as from soy is not causing all these problems. And so a lot of people have bought into that narrative and they
Yeah.
avoid soy. And then let me just say before you guys run with this and we go somewhere else,
Yeah.
is that there's a lot of people going, well, I'm allergic to it. Okay. I always tell, if you're allergic to something,
Of
don't
course.
consume it.
Yeah.
Don't be Will Smith in that movie when, what was it? Was it fish that he ate or crab?
Shellfish. He's all swollen. He's all,
If you know you're allergic to something,
just,
Right.
avoid
Just
it.
stay away
Yeah.
from it.
It's not on your list.
Anyway, I touched on all my key points. That's pretty good.
That was good.
Actually, no, I went to PubMed and I looked at a couple more things. So I'm going to read
So,
this. In one study, it says drinking soy milk cut circulating estrogen levels in half. Okay. Which significantly reduces the likelihood of breast cancer. Researchers also discovered that estrogen levels stayed down for over a month after they stopped drinking the soy milk. Another one that was quite interesting was that soy consumption reduces the likelihood of prostate cancer for men by 30%. Okay, this is all
Wow.
proven stuff, and there's people who are they treat that like kryptonite.
Yeah.
And soy also reduces bone turnover markers in women during early menopause, which is going to help with osteoporosis.
Whoa.
So the benefits totally outweigh the perceived negatives.
Right.
But the perceived negatives is what is leading the way and causing people to choose to avoid things
Soy.
like soy milk.
So what was the majority of, or the
Right.
answer on that post that you said that you had them say, or you asked them which one is more, or is healthier?
The majority of people said almond milk,
Oh, they did.
which I've done a lot of talks about almond milk. Almond milk, I think it takes like 4 almonds to create 1 gram of protein, right? So it's 4 almonds that make 1 cup of almond milk. So almond milk is fine. I mean, drink whatever you want, but it's very low in protein compared to like cashew milk.
Okay.
So most of the milk alternatives, as far as to cow's milk, are going to be very low in protein, high in evaporated cane juice or something like that to give it its sweetness.
Yeah.
But even with these studies, I always encourage people go with unsweetened,
Right.
Whatever the alternative is.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
But
interesting.
again, I just wanted to share that information with people. But it's a setup also to talk about the misinformation that is out there.
There's so much.
That's blocking people from living their healthiest life.
Right.
So
And it stresses them
There's a
out
ton-
because it
Yeah.
makes them think like that. Oh my gosh, it's complicated, right?
It is.
And it's almost like, I always try to think about it as, going back to just simplicity, and balance. And I know the diet-free life, you're showing, you're taking just whole foods, right? And the combination of whole foods, like you don't have to leave out this food group. You don't have to like never have this.
Yeah.
Or not touch that ever.
right.
To be healthy, it's, and the stress created around food is a whole problem too.
Oh,
And just the view of food, and thinking this is bad and this is good, and
Yeah.
but just looking at food as nutrition and fuel, and if you're doing it mostly right, there's room in your life for any, a treat, right? Without guilt. Like you shouldn't, if you want to have a piece of pie on Thanksgiving, like you shouldn't be sitting there and having a full on
right. Have to sit outside afterwards.
Or then feel bad about yourself after, right? Like there's all the things around.
Well, it's interesting. I watch whenever you post food on your Facebook.
Yeah.
She makes fat burning meals every time.
Yeah. Oh, you do? I'll have to.
And you don't know our program.
Well, and you showed it to me once. When you showed it to me when I met you the first time, you gave me an overview, and I was like, oh, like that looks
Makes
like
sense.
how I eat. Well, good.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing it right. Like I was like, because I've, that just happened to be how I've eaten most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I have to say that, I'm just thankful for is because it's like, as a child, you don't pick, your parents. I was lucky to be raised with just, my mom cooked. We didn't have a microwave really. We didn't go out to eat very much at all. Fresh stuff, but we also had a little candy basket. I had Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So you had a variety.
Had Tang. We had those
Tang. I
Oh
remember
man,
Tang.
the powder, right?
Hey, I think I'm gonna go. Can you still buy Tang?
Probably on Amazon.
Probably. But we had. It wasn't like my parents were like, everything healthy, you know. But we had just a balanced, good food. But we also had, my mom made these great homemade German donuts that are still to this day. Like when I make them, I'm like, oh my God.
See, there's a lot of that in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, like German donuts.
Yeah, well, there's
Really?
Yeah.
What's is it different from a regular
Pastries.
donut?
It's a little bit like a beignet.
Okay. Like puffy?
Puffy.
Uh-huh.
You can fill it. I fill it with jelly the way my mom makes it. It's a yeast dough, and
Okay.
then it's fried. So it's definitely not healthy.
Right.
It's not healthy. It's not. But it's the thing is what I thank my parents for raising me in a way that we had healthy foods, we had treats. There was never this there wasn't dieting going on ever.
Right.
I never heard my mom talk about diet. I never saw her get on a scale. I never saw my dad get on a scale. So I had a very as I started to eat and make my own food, right? I just went off of kind of that.
And did your mom ever have a challenge with her weight?
No.
Well, I
Not
love that
really.
you brought that up because
I mean-
oftentimes the challenges with, I've coached thousands of women over the years, and almost always a lot of their challenges as an adult with nutrition is based on their upbringing. Dad looked at them when they were eating something and
Yeah.
he went like this.
Right.
And then
That's horrible.
It's horrible, right?
It's
So stuff
horrible.
like that damages people.
it
Yeah.
still goes on.
Yeah, and then it permanently creates a problem with how you think about food, which
Right.
is another root issue
Yeah,
that has to be changed for people. But yeah, my parents weren't ripped either. They weren't, back then, I don't think people devoted as much time to exercise.
No.
They
No.
worked. They worked. They were moving constantly. My dad gardened and took care of the land and all of that, and they had a business, so they worked a lot and they were on their feet a lot and did a lot. Stayed active. But my dad also developed type 2 diabetes.
And he didn't have a weight problem. It's just over years.
Yeah, no, he typical probably man, he has more weight around his waist, still has thinner arms and legs, and now he's in his later 70s, so but never but definitely, yeah, I've tried to help shape.
Right.
He's like he's good.
Yeah,
He's like,
I mean,
I'm
you're
good.
not going to change
No.
nothing at this point,
Yeah.
but very healthy attitude, very positive person, very healthy individual, and my mom smoked cigarettes, so that's another thing that
Does she still
yeah.
smoke or?
she has tapered, but still does. I think so it's something else that generations, different generations. Some things just were of that generation.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
definitely the case for her growing up in Europe, and she's European as well, and back then that was like,
That was what you did. It was very,
yeah.
And they're still
very
doing
cool.
it. I mean, I was in France last year, and everybody was smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like,
I know. And when they, yes, I get it. So my family, my Italian family, when they would come here, and especially it was years ago when they first started implementing the changes about you couldn't smoke in certain places, they were like, "What?"
Right.
Yeah, they couldn't believe it. What do you
Yeah.
mean I can't smoke here? And
Right.
we were like, "No, you can't do that. Not
Right.
here." Yeah.
A fight may break out. because
Yeah.
of that.
oh
For
my
sure.
God, yeah. You're
Now,
like,
now, being a school teacher, right? Like I was watching this thing on Social Dilemma.
Oh.
And so part of the deal with my daughters, I said, look, if you guys want this and that, I'd like to go to the mall and walk around. That's a big deal. I mean, it was
Oh,
a
yeah.
big deal when we were little.
Totally.
Yeah.
But now with COVID, there's nothing.
Right.
We just walk and all the stores are closed.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
happy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Well,
and
they're
I'm
having a
in the
good
back
time.
walking and following them. And then we go to that body shop place where you
Oh.
got to stand in line for an hour just to go and
The
get some
lotion
soap.
place?
Yeah. Very interesting. But anyway, it was all about them. So I said, part of the deal, you guys, is that you're going to watch this show with me.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go do all those things you guys want. We can watch half or we can watch the whole thing. So we watched the whole thing.
Oh.
And so they learned. It was cool to hear them talk, but I also see them on TikTok still doing the things that, to me, I was fearful of when I saw on social, the social challenges. But as a school teacher and a mom,
Yeah.
you're seeing how this is impacting these kids at recess. And
Yeah.
any tips, anything you can share from your experience of what
Well,
you've seen?
you know, I'm at the elementary level, so, you know, if you can keep your kids off of social media in elementary school, that's ideal. You know, I mean, if you delay it as long as possible. But at the same time, there's no way that you're going to keep it off them away from it forever.
Right.
Right? So you do have to prepare kids to use it for its advantages or choose not to use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To see where the benefits are and also be able to teach them where the pitfalls are, where the black holes are. Because like anything, you know, I feel like as far as teaching kids, it's better to teach them about the things that they're going to encounter and what they're going to see, and then where their choice is in that and where do they want to put themselves, right? So elementary level, I say keep them off of social media completely, because they're just too young, you know. But as they get older, right, you have to start to give them opportunities, because if you try to keep it away from them forever, like they're going to sneak it, it's, you know, then you've got a whole nother problem between, you know, as a parent,
Right.
you know, where your kids feel like they have to hide stuff from you, and right. So I try to go the approach of helping them see, so that when they go off to college, that they're well prepared and they know what to expect, and they're not like in shock when the first time they go onto social media and there's like someone that posts a rude comment on there.
Oh, right.
Like, so just even dealing with like bully type behavior
Right.
on social media, right? So, you know, and the biggest thing I think for elementary kids is where I see a big challenge is many kids want to play video games. They want to do that, right? They want to go on the iPad. They want to go on Fortnite.
Which we
Minecraft.
all did.
All
Yeah.
my kids.
Right.
And
I
I
mean,
did.
it's-
Atari.
I
That's where it
got
starts.
Atari.
For
yeah,
sure.
Coleco was my first, right? And
Donkey
then-
Kong, I
Yeah,
was bad.
totally.
No, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Donkey Kong, I was the man.
Right. So we know, right? Because we had that. We grew up with that. But we also didn't in that have the ability to talk to people,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
strangers. No, that's a whole nother element.
Yeah.
But just the, you know, my parents, again, like they were very balanced. They would let us watch TV and they would let us play video games. But then it was like, you go outside now. You know, you're
Right.
So it's about making sure we're keeping the balance for kids. Like, what saddens me to the most is when I'm walking around and talking to kids on the playground after a weekend, and I'm like, "What did you do this weekend?" And they're like, "Oh, I played video games all weekend." Like, I'm just like, "Oh," and I'm just like, because it's like I want to hear that you went to the beach or you took a walk at the park,
Right.
or you know, you went outside, even if it's just playing in the dirt in your backyard,
Yeah.
you know, or just that physical, out in nature, being physical in terms of their health and wellness. And that's what's been a huge impact with COVID too, is
Well,
people
yeah.
being stuck inside and not having that. You have to keep going outside. You have to keep something physical, active. And for some kids, it was organized sports, and it's hard to like go from
Right.
your organized sport was your thing, and now you don't have like that,
I can't even imagine.
right?
I know.
So I think the biggest thing we can do for children is to help them keep a balance. It's not about saying, no, you can't do Minecraft at all. You can't do this at all. But you get this much time, and then we're going to go for a family walk. And also like do things with your kids, right? Because then it's like you're being active. It's benefiting you.
Right.
It's time together.
Right.
So it's like killing two birds with one stone, But help our kids keep balance, because that's what they don't know how to do for themselves. They'll stay on those things.
Oh,
They'll,
and
till their
that's
like eyes are, so you have to be, if you're going to let them, you have to really help them learn and enforce a balance. And hopefully eventually they understand why is that balance, like.
no, I'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that especially with COVID, and especially with a lot of parents, and I'm fortunate because my son is older, so I don't have to sit down with him when he does virtual schooling. I don't have to sit down with him and monitor everything that he does. He does it all on his own. But I feel for these parents who they're having to be the teacher, and maybe they are working at home or they're not working anymore. Who knows? And all that stress that they have. I mean, and I know because I have my son all the time, and so I could just imagine that. Like in their minds, they're thinking the break that they want as far as thinking about, gosh, now to take time to bring them out and have, outdoor time. It's like another level of just pressure. And I like the fact that you said that if you can think about it, well, maybe I need that break too, and do it together. So I've even had to do that. We walk the dogs. I'm like, no, we have to go walk the dogs.
Do you take your phone with you when you walk the dogs?
It's in my side pocket. Yes, I do. It's in my side pocket, and I probably should just leave. I need to just leave it, but yeah, it's in my side pocket.
Would you feel the same if you left it? You feel like a part of you is missing, like an arm.
Like an arm. But it's I've realized that it's a lot more powerful if I do it along with them. And like I said, he's 16, and I can't just say, hey, go do that.
Right.
And if I'm not showing it myself, even though I'll work out myself, but
yeah,
that's so interesting. Like what I mean, people can learn from what both of you are saying, right? But I would like your opinion, if you can even say this publicly, and that is, do you feel we need to get these kids back to school?
Yeah, 100%. As a mom and as a principal, and we actually in Camarillo, I'm in the Pleasant Valley School District. We brought kids back at the end of October. Now they're not coming back full time, because one of the constraints right now is the social distancing, and obviously, we typically have, our lower grades are capping at 27, and our 4th and 5th cap at 35 students per classroom. So, you can't have 35 kids in a room,
right.
Social distance. So we have half them coming, on an AB rotating schedule.
Oh.
And it has been, it just, everything that COVID had done, has made me again just appreciate every aspect of what school provides, because it's not just the learning.
That's right.
It's community. It's community. It's learning to work with other people. It's hearing compliments from other people.
Yeah.
It's working as a team. It's, it's so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear, like the first day the kids came, and we brought them back in small groups, like we started with TK and K, and they were there for the week of Halloween, and they were the only ones there. So they dressed up for Halloween and did a little parade, socially distanced outside, but seeing kids just like so happy.
Oh, I can see it.
And we know as educators that we've been able to pull off a lot of amazing things through the distance learning. I mean, I go into some of these Zoom classrooms and I'm like, have you been doing this like all of your life? This is like amazing. However, no matter how amazing it is, it's never going to be as amazing as being in person.
Right.
So kids need to be in school.
Well,
and
I sat down. I sat down with my 10-year-old and watched her go to class, and I'm like, poor teacher, man. It's because you have certain kids who are outgoing, and they're basically talking the whole time, And that's great because you want some interaction. And my daughters, they get all quiet and they don't even want their video on, and they're just sitting there. And I'm sitting there right next to them, and I'm going, "What kind of class is this right here?" Because I'm like, "Who's in control?" That little kid right there. He goes, "Well, he talks a lot," and I go, "I get it." And I talk to the teachers. They say, "Well, you got to get your daughters to interact more." I mean, it's work.
Yeah.
And so then my mind goes to, and this isn't a dig on my mom, it's just the reality. My mom worked at General Motors for 33 years. Did not go to college. Probably wasn't the best student in high school. Mom, I love you. I'm just keeping it real. But how could my mom sit down with my 10-year-old and be able to like navigate through math the way they do it now? And like
all that.
Her reading.
And I sat down with my daughter to do math. Now she's a sophomore. She's like, I'm like looking at it going like, yep, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
So I'm just helping her try to like, okay, where can we find the answer? Like what app is
right?
there?
Yeah, you're like, I'm just going to pat you on the shoulder.
Yeah. I'm there for moral support.
Yes.
Because emotionally, my kids, my boys are doing pretty good. They're still kind of they're in middle school. They have each other. They have their exercises surfing, so it hasn't been impacted because the ocean's open. So they're out there getting their vitamin D in the sun and seeing friends in the water and getting out there, coming home, getting their work done. So they're doing okay. But my daughter, because she's older, she's a girl, it's the teen years, and it's, when I was her age, everything about going to school was about friends.
Yes.
It was about academics too, but my motivation and everything was around the social aspect at that point. And this has gone on so long that she's just depressed.
Yeah.
And it is we are doing everything we have in our parent tool belt and my educator tool belt to support her. But it's really like, at this point, just going like, look, we're going to get through it. This will end. It will be over. It's okay if you don't have straight A's.
Right.
For the first time in your life, it's okay. Because I understand why you feel this way. It's not like sitting there going like, come on, just suck it up. Because it's been a long time, and it's, for some kids, it is working really well. Like
they're thriving.
Yeah, because I have some kids that like they coming to school and onto campus with lots of kids is anxiety producing for them. But at home, like they've been able to really come out of their shell and they feel, and it's working for them. Like, so it's just, for some it's working, but I think for the majority, it's not.
No, my daughter went from honor roll.
Yeah.
Her first year of having a chance to be on honor roll last year, killed it. And now she's failing.
Yeah.
Most classes, she's behind.
Oh.
It's crazy. It's mind blowing to me. And so let's get back to school because we all need to interact.
Ventura County, everybody, like let's get back in the red. We need to get back in the red. That's what is the factor right now. For the codes, the color system that Newsom has in place is. For schools that haven't opened, because again, like my school's open, so we are there now. But for schools that haven't opened,
like the junior high or the middle school and high school, they haven't.
We have to get to red again, which the color coding system is so like it's so. I mean, green to give me colors that make sense with what they mean, but purple's the worst.
That's right.
I love purple. Purple's a happy
I know you think
color
it'd be red, but
you'd think it'd be red,
Yeah.
right? But it's not. It's purple. Purple's the worst, and that's where we are.
Yeah, purple. I think of money.
Like
I
a
think
bruise,
about,
actually. Maybe if you think of it that way, think of it like a bruise.
There we go.
No, purple is
COVID
royalty.
just punched us in the face.
Hey, that's true. Purple
Royalty,
and green.
money.
Purple and green. Yeah.
I like purple.
But we got to get back to red, and then we have to, and then that's when they can move into phases of opening hybrid. But again, it's really going to take, I guess, like a solution in the medical side of things until like, people feel until it's like we don't have to worry about the 6 feet anymore. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I haven't heard a peep about the high school yet. It's like,
well, what about you two? Like, are you guys going to do the vaccine?
Well, it's one of those things. Like, I never got the flu vaccine. Like, I've gotten all my normal vaccines. I've given my kids all the normal vaccines. Like just the things that they have to get.
Right.
But when it comes to the flu shot every year, I've always not felt like I needed it or wanted it. nor for my kids. But for this vaccine, you know, like, I mean, if I was told I had to, I would. Like if they said, okay,
for your job,
for my
or
job,
mm-hmm.
if they were like, you have to, I would.
Mm-hmm. I
wouldn't like, you know, quit my job because of it. I think a lot of people out there just, you know, they're kind of like, can someone else go first? You know,
right?
I think everyone else is waiting for like the first round of like,
mm-hmm.
okay, let's see how it works for other people, and then, you know, but of course, you know, starting with people that are most, you know, at risk. But at the same time, you know, I have people I know that have gotten it that are healthy. So I don't think anyone knows enough about
the vaccine.
Well, you know,
that's my concern.
Well, that's what,
we
like,
just don't know
when
enough.
I was sharing with you guys before we even started was my friend who's treated almost right around 400 people with COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Not one person has died. But her regimen has been exactly what Trump said before he got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And because Trump lifted up hydroxychloroquine and the approach that he felt everybody would be able to like go with to remedy the situation, the people who hate Trump are like, man, screw that dude.
you clean that up.
Well, they use the F word. Like people who don't like him, they just don't like him. And she says, I don't even think we don't need a vaccine. We know how to treat people. And then you had all those doctors that were out there and they were making statements and talking about all the people that they've saved. So politics can really create a headache.
Politics has
For
really
sure.
messed up this whole thing for our country.
Yes.
Yeah. And in both sides. I mean, so it's not like one versus
Exactly.
the other. I just say it's like the fact that there's a political element, period, in the story is made it where I think people, again, can't trust information and, you know, and it's caused more stress.
For sure.
And again, more stress causes more.
I mean, it's a public health issue,
It
not
is,
a political issue.
Right. And so, you know, I'm hopeful. I mean, there's periods of time where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to like.
I know.
Especially, you know, it's just a constant wave of emotions. But I'm hopeful that the smart people will figure it out. Right. I mean, we have smart people.
I don't know. You know, I used to have a column in the VC Reporter years ago, and the title of my column was Body Politics, because with the body, because what we're talking about, right, there's so much confusion around how to take care of yourself, what's right, what's wrong. 1 week coffee's okay, next week coffee's not. Eggs, eat them.
Or bananas.
It just changes. Like there are politics around how we handle our body, and I always share with people that you can create an argument 3 easy ways. You can talk about religion, and probably someone's going to get bent and you're going to battle. You can talk about politics. And when you start talking about dieting, the different diets, people will start to argue. So I want to take like the remainder part of our time, and I want to interview both of you because I want people to know a little bit more about you, because this is your first time here.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Barbara's a nutritionist, and it's good for them to learn a little bit more about you. And not you as a teacher now. We're going to shift into your wellness business. But with you first, kind of give us a snapshot of like what do you do, and who are the kind of people that potentially could be a client?
Oh, okay. So what do I do? I'm a nutritionist and weight loss coach. And prior to that, I worked in the corporate world for almost 20 years in environmental occupational health. And I just found that from that experience that teaching was so much more powerful in trying to help people live healthier. And I found that in working the Diet Free Life methodology, it really comes down to teaching people really how to meet them kind of like where they are, have it make sense for them so that it can actually stick. And so I really find that when I can teach them that sustainable type method, then they get these sustainable results. So the type of people that would be a great client for me, I mean, I've worked with men, women, from 20s to, I think my oldest now is in her 70s, post and perimenopausal women, people who are struggling with their weight and who have yo-yo dieted in the past and are frustrated. And it seems like you said at the very start of this talk, is that one of the things that you found is that people are really looking for that answer. They really want to get healthier. They want to find that, not that temporary fix. They really want to find something that makes sense and they can stick to. And I found across the board, the past 6 months plus, my clientele has grown throughout this whole COVID, pandemic. It's been amazing. And I have to share too that one of my most recent clients, she's 70. I've been working with her. It's only been 3 weeks. And her daughter actually reached out to me. And she said, and I didn't even share this with you. She said for the first time in her life, so this is the daughter speaking of the mom. She's saying the first time in my mom's life, I actually see her having some level of freedom with food. And I wanted to thank you for that. She seems happy now and she's actually getting results. This is like, it made my entire week. I just couldn't believe it. It was just so exciting. And anyway, I guess that kind of summarizes right there.
No, that was great.
Yeah. And that just one, right? That's why you do it, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
To have that one change, and that change also when you're working with people, I'm sure then impacts other people around them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they inspire. They don't realize who they're inspiring. So her mom now is inspiring her daughter, who's now seeing her mom feel happy, feel good about herself. And now the daughter is kind of, I don't want to say reaching out to me, but just thinking like, oh, there is a way. There is a way with that, like you said, and how we coach. It's not about deleting a food category. It's not about saying you could never have apple pie or whatever it may be. It's just how you do that.
And it's not just about a scale. It's
yes.
about the health of your body.
It's everything.
It's
yes.
everything. And that's, I think helping people open up their description of why are they changing their food. It's not just about losing weight. It's about, I want to eat foods that nourish my body to be its healthiest and to operate at its healthiest.
And just, feel good, have energy throughout the day, be, happy and not want to cut the heads off of your family.
Nobody likes to diet people.
No.
But people keep doing it. And, I have noticed a big change on perception around what we all do in the last 10 years. 10, 11 years ago, it was all about losing weight and you had to have a cool spin to it. Like the whole infomercial vibe was happening.
Yeah.
And then I've noticed recently that it's all about being healthier and not necessarily just losing weight, which leads me to asking you that exact same question. So share with those who are meeting you for the first time, kind of what you do in that world and what's the ideal client.
So what I do specifically is I just came across, nutritional supplements that really worked for me for the first time. And so that's kind of the business, of what I do. But when I'm working with people who are wanting to implement or include supplements into their bigger picture, I'm also helping them, with coaching around. And again, it's not, I have no professional background. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not, I don't have a degree in anything. It's really just based on pointing people in the right direction. So when I talk to people and I do talk to them about their food, if I'm seeing that they're struggling with their choices, I'm going to point them in the direction of a nutritionist. I'm going to point them in the direction of someone that has that professional background. I share what I do and I share little tips and little things, but, I really focus on the supplement side, and that is supplements are not replacements. Supplements are there to put a layer that you can build off of. And the supplements that I use and share are based on filling in nutritional gaps and optimizing gut health. And the gut health focus is where I really help people kind of connect when they're coming to me and telling me that they're not sleeping well, their hormones are imbalanced, and they have foggy brain, and they're having trouble losing weight, and they're having low mood, high stress, all these things through the research I've done over the past 6 years. Because again, where I didn't go get a degree in it, as an educator, I love to educate myself and I love to read. And when I started using these products and they started working, I was like, well, how is this working? What's actually happening that's finally making a difference? And it was the gut health component. It was eliminating the bad bacteria and improving the good bacteria that is under constant attack from stress in our lives. And so stress management and just the big picture of all those things going together, and just encouraging people to like make one change. Like, I'm giving you one change. A client of mine might be just their first step of changing, or they might already be, doing a lot of things right and just want to go and add in another layer. It's about giving them one thing that can create a lot of positives for them, and then we have a private group where we have nutritionists and personal trainers connected in, and we're all sharing our knowledge with our clients, so that like people are getting all kinds of great information. Because again, it's through the teaching and sharing of information, and really we do that on social media, and that's the great thing about social media. So when like with my kids, like my daughter has art, a passion for art, I'm trying to teach her the benefit of using her social media to share that with the world.
Oh,
and
nice.
how she can use that. That's a positive about social media. It's like not all bad, right? There's lots of great things, and social media has been a way that I've been able to reach people, sharing information, teaching people, that then they reach out to me and say, hey, I want to know more about that. I am having trouble sleeping. I am having trouble losing weight. I am having trouble with this,
Right.
And then giving them something that helps them, but then helping them continue that change in other aspects of their life, because it's like a compound effect. You help someone, and when you talk about the message you got, like the messages that I get from my clients, is the reason I'm willing to do it on top of a career and 3 kids, is because it's what I want to do. I'd rather spend my screen time, my social media time, now that I have a way to make an impact on others, putting out content and messaging with people and helping people, versus watching a Netflix show. So in the past 6 years, I just kind of eliminated my Netflix show as my like 1 hour downtime, and incorporated a way to be able to use social media to kind of just inspire people to make a change and to get results and to get healthier, and those messages that you get from people. So, my ideal client, someone who can benefit from what I do, is someone that can benefit from the layer of supplements and probiotics that can support things like energy level, focus, attention, sleep, mood, weight management, digestive health, huge, immune system function, hormonal function. All of those things connect back to the gut biome. And that's, so I have some people that are young, and, I have old people, young people, all different people, because all of us have this biome, and can benefit from it. But for some people, they're starting from, this is the first change they're making that then catapults them into, like I think of one person in particular, he was in a car accident, which led to sedentary and aches and discomforts, which led to mood issues, which led to weight gain, right? So like compound effect of the negative happened for them. And when he started working, using the supplements, that gave him a whole boost to the way his body was feeling and functioning, that then had him, instead of with discomfort and mood issues, now he's working out. And it takes time. Like, it's not, there's no, like, go from like that to that. But I mean, his before and after, like, and he's in, 50, his before and after, he's changed the trajectory of his life. Changed the trajectory. And he's changing it for his children, because him modeling what he's now doing, he's doing things the right way. He's changed his food, he's changed his exercise routines, because his body's, like, it catapulted him in that direction. And now his kids, kids will see what you're doing, right? Yeah. And they come and do the same thing. And I think that's kind of, the passion behind it, is seeing the change over time for people. But it's really the gut health component and filling in the nutrient gaps that we all have, because it's hard to meet every single nutrient need every single day. So when you're taking high quality things, your body actually notices the difference, right? Like
high quality supplements.
high quality.
Well, anytime I think of supplements, which I know a lot about that space, I go back to my time as a teenager. And as a teenager, I wanted to get big. And so protein powder was popular. But back in the day, before real deregulation and the door was really opened up, I was constipated all the time because
But you were yoked.
I was yoked. That protein powder back in the day, man.
Yeah. I bound you up there, huh?
It wasn't about taste. Where today, tastes great.
Right. Tastes like birthday cake now.
Back then, it was like, mix it up. Go. And you just did it.
Right.
And we were causing a lot of damage to our microbiome, to our gut bacteria.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, I'm sure somebody appreciated that story, but I love the fact that your company and what you guys do is focused on gut bacteria because that is the future for mental health, for dementia, for Alzheimer's, you name it. And I'm sure you're familiar with like fecal transplants and all the stuff that's taking place within the gut bacteria.
Right.
And as the man back in the day once said, and we all know this quote, that your disease begins in the gut. And as we're about to close, I do want to encourage people to reach out to both of you guys to learn more about what you do in your business. It's been delightful to have this conversation. But I love the fact that we're talking about gut health, and that would be a big part of what we do on a regular basis, as we like all communicate.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in alignment with that, which is awesome. And we'll bring in some experts who are amazing gastroenterologists that can really talk about it.
Yeah.
As I shared, I have a dear friend who can't wait to come in and meet with all of us.
I know, I want to meet
It's going to be
her.
fascinating. But there was a guy that I met a few years ago. He was 111 years old when I met him.
Nice.
Bernardo.
Goals.
Yes.
I know, right?
So he was born 1901. So I met him in Arizona. He lived in New York until he was 91. Exercised every day. And then when he was 113, I saw him the next year, and I was part of a group that they were giving him an award, and I was the keynote speaker at the event. That's how I met him. And he was sharp, man. He was like sharp. And the night I met him before the event, I remember we were talking for like 2 hours. He didn't go to the restroom. I watched him grab a glass of water. His hand didn't shake. Mine was. Right.
He's testing you.
So when he turned 113, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a video crew. And I went to Arizona, and I spent the whole day with him. We got there when he first woke up, and I watched him cook every meal. I watched him work out. I hung out, got to see the stories. And when I'm in his house, I'm seeing like I saw this plaque that was a plaque he received when he retired in 1956.
Oh, my goodness.
So think about that.
That's crazy.
And then I'm talking to him, and I'll share with him how I knew Jack LaLanne very well. And he goes, I met Jack, which Jack had passed, and he knew Jack back then, and he was older than Jack.
Right.
Right. And then I brought up Dr. King, and we're talking about the civil rights movement. He's like, yeah, when I was in my 60s, I heard Dr. King speak. Like, what? Right. Yeah. And then he knew George Washington Carver. Think about that.
So he's just like,
this guy like knew people.
Yeah.
And so I have all that on video. But the reason why I brought him up was because I asked him questions. I said, what is your day like? What do you contribute to like the quality of life that you have and how happy you are and the fact that you keep telling me that you never are sick? He said, the gut. And I was like, the gut. And he was like, take care of your intestinal tract. He goes, his dad was an herbologist back in the day. And so his dad was always into health and well-being. And so that was just part of who he was. He had a hot dog the first time at the age of 12. And he said he got sick. And so he was primarily a vegetarian, but he had that old school way of thinking where he said, if I went to your house and you served steak, I will eat the steak. It's not my staple. I'll eat the steak.
Right.
oh, okay.
It was that respect thing. If you go to, you remember, like, I think some of our parents I heard my mom say, if you go to someone's house, you eat what they serve, boy.
Oh, Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I don't eat that, right?
Right. Yeah. My mom would be like, "What?"
Yeah, right.
Which then, there's lessons in that. It's kind of like my daughter. She was very curious because of TikTok of these drinks, the Rockstar drinks and
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, so-
energy drinks. Yeah.
well, for me as a parent, not to totally get too off, 'cause I know we're closing, but I went and got her a drink because I know that if I don't do it, she's going to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Buy one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're going to do it when you're not around.
Yeah.
They're going to go over a friend's
Yeah.
house. But anyway, all that to be said, I appreciate everything you shared today. Thank you
Yes.
for making
Yeah.
time to.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's like
Yes,
I said,
thank you.
I love when I have a chance to share and talk and talk to others that are passionate about health and wellness because, again, like there's nothing more important, not a thing, right? So if someone's listening, and you're inspired, and you're like, wow, just again, start with one thing. One thing.
One thing.
It can be one thing. It doesn't have to be I'm meal prepping on Sunday. Now I'm going to the gym 5 days a week. And it's just pick one thing that it will be a habit that you can, like you mentioned, setting people up to do things that they can do for life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Like, what is something that I can incorporate and I can do this for life,
Yep.
not just for 2 months.
Exactly.
'Cause I'm like, it's too complicated or I'm like overly trying to be perfect, right?
It's called City Slickers, you guys. Watch the movie City Slickers.
City Slicker.
Remember what Curly said?
Well, no, I don't remember what he said, but I remember the movie.
You need to watch the movie again.
Yeah.
I know. It's like you mentioned.
You remember it, right?
I don't
know,
remember
but
the details.
I
of
know.
It.
See?
So remember,
Yes.
Curly was the old guy.
Yeah.
That would show up. He was in part 2.
Yes.
And he was the guy that could do the push-ups.
Okay,
And
yes.
remember when he won an Academy Award or something, he did the push-ups. He was an older guy. But his thing was every time they would ask him, because they were all different business people and they came together, and he would say, one thing, it's that one thing. And they would go, what is he talking about? That
Right.
one thing.
Yeah.
And it was a lesson. Get
Dang.
focused. Start
Yeah.
with one thing.
Yeah.
Do the one thing right.
And that's, I guess,
Yeah.
too, like, there's so many things we're not in control of on
Yes.
a day-to-day basis, right? Like in the world, in life, and things that you can stress over. And I think too, if you find yourself thinking about, oh God,
Yep.
when you can bring it and go, well, okay, I can't do this, but what can I do? Like when you focus on what you can do, 10 minutes,
Yep.
even if it's 10 minutes, right, of just deep breathing, just that. If you
Yeah.
do that for 2 weeks straight, you've got a habit you're going to start to build, right? Start with a bite.
Small.
Yeah, start small, create a habit, add on to it.
So you tell me I
Yeah.
can't eat a whole elephant in, one
Right.
bite?
And you can if you want
can.
to.
I mean, and some
You
people-
could shove it down.
And it's not that, some people can. Like, some people, you can overhaul it all. But I think, a lot of people feel like they have to wait until the gyms are open or wait
Yes.
until this is done or wait until they have more time. More time is not
Or
coming.
some
Right?
perfect.
Like just, or, when the things settle down, like life is always happening.
Right.
So, focus, think of one thing you can do. And I always talk about like the water because I think that's a habit. One of the first habits I introduce to people, along with, when I'm working with them is, if you want to start to incorporate another habit, a very simple thing to do is just get real focused on your water, your hydration. Because a lot of people are very underhydrated.
Most
Yeah.
people
Most,
are
for sure.
dehydrated.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this has been the Stay Healthy Experience, and all of the information for people to contact, to follow you, all of us on Instagram, and to
Yes.
reach out to us is provided. And until the next time, we always encourage people when we end is I'll say things like, or I'm saying, get healthy, be healthy, and of course,
Stay healthy.
stay healthy.